Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up just like the sunrise. We gonna light it up now. Just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt. No, we can't turn back now. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up just like the sunrise. We gonna light it up now.
Ember. Oh, Ember.
Miss Ember.
Oh, great Ember, tell me what I'm doing.
Appreciate you, Ember.
Love Ember. She's great.
Bottom of the barrel Ember bullshit.
Oh my God, Ember.
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 We love you, Ember.
You rock at that, Ember.
Ember is the queen.
We're neighbors, Ember.
I see you, Ember.
Hey, Ember is hot.
Hello, hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. May the great God of hammers bring peace upon you, or something like that. I just kind of going with it. Today, aliens. Probably. Maybe. We'll find out. But first, a few notes. First thing first, we're coming up quickly on the anniversary of the nonsense that is currently plaguing the United States. And there's a few things you should know. First of all, Martin Luther King Day comes first. We're going to do some Martin Luther King stuff on Jav and Jugs, specifically protests, political power, government oppression. You know, all the things we're seeing right now. What lessons can we learn from Dr. King's life about how to deal with our current situation? And so that should be interesting. And then also the day after the anniversary of the inauguration, there's some stuff happening. Ryan just shared this link this morning. This is freeameri.ca because, of course, it has to be hosted on a Canadian server, so it doesn't get shut down by the state. But this is a website that coordinates January 20th walkout protests, 2 p.m. local time. So whatever time zone you're in, If you don't have a coordinated protest, that's the main thing. 2 p.m., whatever time you're in, walk out. We're just walking out. Wherever you are, whatever you do, we're just fucking leaving. But there are a few specific places, Oklahoma City, Houston, and Washington. In particular, although there are other events that are you can host, you can find an action, you can partner up with them, so on and so forth. But that's the main gist of it. And I'll put the link in the chat in case you want to go tootle around and check it out yourself. I have random goo on me, and I'm not sure where it came from, and it's frustrating. It's like it's not important. You never know where goo might come from. It's a mystery. It's a surprise. But so there's that. It's fascinating that the inauguration anniversary happens to fall on Tyr's Day, because Tyr was the god of justice. Another website for your consideration is the Mobilize campaign from the indivisible.org website. They've been behind a lot of protests this year, including the 50-51 protests, No Kings protests, and so forth. Mobilize is a tool to help you form or connect with local groups and organize. And I haven't really gone through this because I just was introduced to it this morning, but it seems like a good idea to start coordinating with other groups to, make actions happen on a larger scale, like the No Kings protests, where there were dozens and dozens and dozens of protests with hundreds and hundreds of people at the smallest ones all across the country, all at the same time. That kind of thing is useful. But also you need decentralized coordination. Your local group should have not only a membership thing somewhere on some, ideally not publicly traded social media, because they're all run by oligarchs, but something. A lot of people have been going with signal chats because the messages are more secure and the messages don't stick around. So unless you invite the opposition into your chat, it's generally pretty safe, as a hypothesis. So there's a few different things to consider, because people do need to. We've been doing okay. We've been doing really good numbers with our protests, but we're not seeing a lot of effect from our protests because the powers that be are just ignoring them. So we need to level up the protests. We need to make them be something that gets noticed, that makes an impact. But we need to be very careful to do it in a way that cannot be construed as violent, because they are actively searching for reasons to increase their use of force. So we have to be very careful to be explicitly not violent, but also be more effective. And some of these tools may be some avenues to help do that. Let me see. I don't know if I have any other notes for right now. I'll probably touch on these again on Friday's show and on Monday's show. Make sure, if you're new here, do subscribe. We've got a bunch of cool topics coming up. Today we're doing the Drake equation. Friday we're doing the history of chemistry, because it is quite an interesting storied history to get from alchemy and preceding tribal practices to modern chemistry with oxygen bonds and all sorts of. It's a long road, and there's a lot of weird turns. So I hope you join for that. Monday, Deviant Outcast will be joining me for ancient technology. We're doing aliens today. We're doing ancient technology on Monday. What could possibly go wrong? But yeah, so do subscribe. Join us for all these shows. We're here every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Plus, I do bonus shows. Last night, I just ripped Piers Morgan a new one, which was a really fun show. If you haven't seen it, it's on the channel. It's the most recent live before this one. Yeah, so subscribe, join us for all the fun things. I'd love to see you in the live chat. Okay, on to the thing we're doing today. Drake equation. Deviant says, Tyr was a war god, for said he was connected to justice and law. It depends on who you ask and how you look at it. Tyr, okay, so the peace symbol, right? The peace symbol everybody's familiar with. The upside down Y with the line through the middle of the thing. It's actually an inversion of the war rune, right? Like there's a rune for war, and it's that pitchfork symbol with the line going down. It was deliberately turned upside down. You invert war to make peace, in theory. So the peace sign is the old war rune, and that's Tyr's rune. However, some people have interpreted it to be a scale kind of thing. It's messy. New Age interpretations of ancient religions don't always have a one-to-one correspondence with reality. Anyhow, Drake equation. So we're back on Wikipedia because, again, for those of you who are new, it is really reliable. Even Encyclopedia Britannica conducted a survey and found that Wikipedia is more reliable than Encyclopedia Britannica. The editors are kind of anal. They won't let you screw up the pages like you could in the old days. But also, it can be updated in real time. And even if you don't trust the information on there, they offer citations, and you can go look at the citations. So that's pretty handy. So yeah. So we're starting here. If we need citations, we have them. So Drake equation. Drake wondered if there was a way, Frank Drake, not Francis Drake. That's a whole different thing. It might make a good show, though, because Francis Drake had an interesting history. But I digress. Frank Drake wanted to know if there was a way to figure out if there are aliens. For sure. And success is debatable. So he came up, hold please. I feel like absolute crap today, folks. Oh, we're doing our best. The Drake equation is a probabilistic argument used to estimate the number of active communicative extraterrestrial civilizations in the Milky Way galaxy. References, citations, we love to see them. Now, there's a couple of different things. The first is we need to have an active civilization in order to communicate with them, right? Like a civilization that is still in their Stone Age. Not helpful. We can't reach them by any reasonable means. And a civilization that is already extinct, not helpful. We can't reach them, at least without a Ouija board. So we need a civilization that is currently active and in the technological window where they're capable of communicating with us, or where we're capable of communicating with them. We're not exactly at the pinnacle of technology yet ourselves. So, yeah. So how do we figure this out? Frank Drake, in 1961, all the cool shit happened in the post-war years. But the equation was formulated in 1961, not for purposes of quantifying the number of civilizations, but as a way to stimulate scientific dialogue at the first scientific meeting on the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, the SETI Institute. It was founded as basically a sci-fi convention, and Drake was one of many scientists who was trying to make people take it a bit more seriously. Like, is there a way we could really do this? The Drake equation is foundational to the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, insofar as it got people to believe it was even possible. Space is big. The odds of finding another civilization on a large enough scale are 100%, or so close to 100% that we couldn't calculate a difference. But one that we could feasibly reach and communicate with, that's another matter. So, right. So the equation summarizes the main concepts which scientists must contemplate when considering the question of other radio communicative life. It is more, and this is the thing, the emphasis on radio, because in the 1960s, radio was the best we had. for long distance communication, it's still the best we have because our technology is still somewhat limited. If aliens communicated at us in a non-radio way, we couldn't receive it. If we communicated at aliens, whether they're in the Stone Age or they're in the Quantum Age, if we shoot radio at them, they won't be able to receive it. So we need a civilization that matches our technology in the window when we're able to communicate. And so that's a bit of an oof. And then there's also speed of light issues. My goodness. Like if we made radio contact with a civilization 200 light years away, we could send a signal at them now, and by the time they receive it, they're already past the radio era. Remember, we've only had radio for about 100 years, and we're already phasing it out. So, The equation summarizes the main concepts which scientists must contemplate when considering the question of radiocommunicative life. It is more properly thought of as an approximation than a serious attempt to determine a precise number. And it has to be, because it doesn't have the ability to determine a precise number. So let's look at what the Drake equation is, right? So we've got a formula. This is the whole equation right here, and it's pretty neat. Let's zoom in a bit so we can read the things. So N, the number of technologically advanced civilization in the Milky Way. That's our target number. First value, R, the rate of formation of stars in the galaxy. So we can estimate that. We can estimate that fairly precisely. But we need the number of stars to get F of P, the fraction of those stars with planetary systems. And that's another estimate. Once again, we're getting better and better data. We're working on it. And then N of E, which is the number of planets per solar system with an environment suitable for life. Now, we tend to think of that as liquid water, but that's to get life like us. That isn't necessarily the only way to do it. We're the only life we've confirmed to exist yet, but that isn't necessarily the only way to do it. So I personally think we make a mistake when we look for planets specifically in what they call the Goldilocks zone, because first of all, that's not how you get liquid water. It has almost nothing to do with your distance from the star. It's almost entirely down to atmospheric pressure and temperature. Distance from a star only matters if your atmospheric pressure is roughly Earth-like, and your atmospheric composition is roughly Earth-like. Will get you the combination of temperature and pressure to get liquid water. But if you up the temperature, you can do other things with the pressure. If you up the pressure, you can do different things with the temperature, and vice versa. And that's just to get liquid water, which once again is not necessarily the only way to do this. So there's a lot of assumptions baked into the Goldilocks zone thing, almost none of which actually apply to whether a planet is capable of supporting life. Oh, I don't have to scroll all the way down. My goodness. And then our next one, F sub L, maybe, is the fraction of suitable planets on which life actually appears. And that's another issue, is like, just because a planet could support life doesn't mean it does. Now, recent information from space has helped us revise this estimate even further, and it seems pretty damn close to 100%. Not only did life appear on Earth virtually the instant it could support life, but we're finding the building blocks of life scattered all over space. It seems like life, for some reason having to do with the chemical nature of matter, self-assembles. And if there's an environment that's even remotely close to being able to support life, it just pops into being. Now, life, clearly not engineered, but you could make an interesting case that the universe is engineered to make life just pop up everywhere it can. But that's a discussion for another day, and let's not give any more arguments to the silly theists, because they won't understand that one. So the next one is the fraction of life-bearing planets on which intelligent life emerges. And that's, F sub I, the intelligence fraction. Because just because you have life doesn't mean you're going to get intelligence. Remember, Earth has gone through 5 huge extinctions before humans showed up. And whether you can count humans as intelligent is another matter. Like, arguably, we're barely intelligent. We still have a lot of evolving to go. F sub C is the fraction of those planets with intelligent life that does develop who have interstellar communication capability. In this case, radio waves. But, another way would work too. And then L. The length of time such civilizations release detectable signals into space. And this is a pretty comprehensive formula because, again, communication window is a thing. If we got radio signals from another civilization while we were in our Stone Age, we wouldn't receive them. If we got them in the early days of radio, we wouldn't have a way to respond back. Right? And as Seth said, Earth still doesn't have intelligent life. Arguably, considering the nonsense we're doing, it doesn't leave a good feeling in the mouth. We're spending so much time oppressing each other instead of exploring science and civilization and boldly going where no one has gone before and things. But speaking of boldly going, I don't know, I'll think of a better segue later. It's Lilith. Hello, Lil. How are you?
Hello, and Kip.
Dr. Kip had opinions.
Yes, she does. Very much so. She's been all about
Excellent.
business all day. I'm still sick, but I'm better. So don't get the flu, people. It's nasty.
It's true. All the viruses are quite rude these days. My goodness.
Yeah.
All right.
I had gotten the flu shot. Apparently, when I talked to my doctor about it, he's like, "You probably got the flu shot one day too late," because I already had the flu when I got the flu shot because I got really sick the next day. He's like, "You probably had it for a couple days." So thanks to my grandson.
It's possible. It's been known to happen. My goodness. All right. So in a moment, I want to ask you a couple of questions. But first, I want to take this opportunity that I mostly missed, but not quite. If you are in search of a planet with liquid water, we can help. Hey folks, I've been working hard on my health, and so far I've lost over 140 pounds. A huge part of good health is hydration. That's why I'm thrilled to partner with Epic Water Filters. Check this out. Not only can you say goodbye to expensive bottled water, but these filters are made in the US, so no tariffs, and they're made to fit your life. From these lovely pitchers I can fill from, to sink units, to portable filters that fit in your reusable bottle. With Epic, I can refill from nature's water sources and not have to worry about bacteria and whatnot. But also, send back a used filter to be responsibly recycled, and they'll send you a free replacement, saving you and the earth even more. Want to save a ton of money, be healthier, and build a better world? Head to epicwaterfilters.com and enter code EMBER15 at checkout for 15% off. Don't settle for random water. Upgrade to Epic. Okay. Now, quick tangent back to the beginning, because tangents is what we do here. And if you're interested in tangents, we can help you out with that as well, because we have merch. BetterThanEmber.com. There's a store. Sometimes it shows up under the videos too. But yeah, we're just here for the tangents. And to tangent back to a thing from the beginning, Deviant Outcast, who is from the Viking lands, says, Ember, in word I can't pronounce, stanza 32, and there's a quotation that I definitely can't pronounce, but it translates to, all hail Glitney, stanchions of gold, roof made out of silver. There Forseti spend most days mediating things all. Now, in fairness, if you want to consider war an action of mediating justice, then absolutely, tier 2 would be a god of justice, just not peaceful justice. And right, because there's this idea that Americans have that justice means people sitting in a courtroom non-violently. That's one way to administer justice, but it's not the only way to administer justice.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. But thank you for that, Deviant. Lil, what are your thoughts on aliens? Are we likely? Do you think it's possible, likely, inevitable, etc., that we eventually find extraterrestrials, or is it a pipe dream of people who like to play with the stars?
I'm kind of both, because by the sheer numbers, there should be life everywhere, but we don't see it. So I'm just kind of like, I kind of tend to be somewhat ambivalent on it, because I'm just like, it should be there, but we don't see it. One hypothesis that has been put out there that I personally just like, I have no reason to back this over anything else, but I just like it, is the fact that when you look at the universe is actually pretty young considering its entire lifespan. We just might be the first.
It's not impossible, although I'm not super convinced by that, because once again, Earth has had 5 mass extinctions and we have a 3rd generation star. Now, to get the elements into the planets the way we have them, you need to be a 3rd generation star, but a 2nd generation star, a population 2 star, because our star's population 1, because it's the closest to us. We name things weird. But either way, 2nd generation or 2nd population, they did have the elements necessary for life. It wasn't just hydrogen and helium, so maybe. It seems likely that a lot of the pieces parts in our solar system are the leftovers of a previous solar system. There's signs that some of our asteroids are broken planet bits, and they're much older than it's not like a planet formed in our solar system and was smashed apart. Like some of these asteroids, we found remnants of oceans, like they used to be the surface of a planet that's, big, for instance. So we don't know. We don't know for sure. But it's an interesting idea that it's purely sci-fi at this point, but it's not impossible that there was a previous civilization on a previous version, not even Earth-like, but another planet that had properties similar to Earth in some ways. And they went so mad with power, they ended up blowing their star up, which just shattered their planet, and eventually the remains coalesced into our solar system. So we can do it again.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, like I said, like I'm kind of ambivalent on it, because by the numbers we should see it, but there's nothing there. So I'm kind of just waiting until we actually find something. But I think I find the idea that we might be the first just kind of satisfying. And I'm just like, you know what? Until otherwise, I have no reason to, but I'm going to go with that until I'm proven otherwise, just for kicks and giggles.
I mean, numbers-wise, timing-wise, it seems extremely unlikely, but it's sort of like winning the lottery, right? Like, there has to be someone wins the lottery. It's extremely unlikely, but someone wins it, even if it takes a few weeks to actually get a jackpot winner, kind of thing, So somebody's got to be first. Although that kind of implies for there to be a first, the universe has to have a limit. And to the best of our ability to determine, the only limit is when the clock started at inflation. So who the hell knows? Who the hell knows? I don't think we have enough data. Are you familiar with the Drake equation in practice at all?
Yes, I am.
So what are your thoughts on Drake's takes?
Like, it's honestly, I look at it, and even though I get what he was trying to do, it is still just a little bit of, it's a lot of best guess with a little bit of hopeful thinking. One of the biggest problems is that we have a sample size of 1. You can't do a lot with a sample size of 1. We know one place that can support life. That's it. So, I mean, what we have no idea what else could support life. We just don't.
Well, it's one of the reasons that we're putting so much effort into detecting exoplanets, and I almost made this episode about that because there's a lot of cool stuff going on with exoplanets.
Yeah.
Maybe I will for another episode if the show continues. But we found upwards of 6,000 exoplanets, possibly a lot more because it's been a few months since the last time I looked. Upwards of 6,000 exoplanets. Many of them are Jupiter types, gas giants or super Jupiters even, but we've been finding rocky planets too. We've been finding rocky planets with water. We've been finding rocky planets with water and chemical signatures in the atmosphere that may be indicative of life. So we're finding data and data and data for the different variables to try to refine the numbers. But even 6,000 is still a pretty limited sample, considering the vast size of our galaxy. So who knows? There is a lot of it's one of the flaws of Bayesian probabilities is your initial assumptions are basically just made up. Like you take your best guess, but it is just a guess and it could be wildly inaccurate. And then you revise it based on data as you uncover it, but you never quite get away from the fact that the initial values are just made up.
Yeah.
So it's a new, but I do like the way it seems overly complicated because it's broken down into so many levels, but it also makes it clear exactly why it's broken into so many levels, because really all we actually need is intelligent civilizations with the ability to communicate with us now, you know? But to get to that number, we need all these other fractions that show us how likely it is for that to be, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of it's kind of crazy because you have to have obviously like you start with the premise of you have to have the right kind of start. Well, what's the right kind of start for the right kind of life though? And a lot of it is best guess, I think. A lot of it is just
for sure. We make a similar, like I was talking about Goldilocks zones a moment ago. We do a similar thing with star types. We assume a G-type star, main sequence, vaguely sort of thing. Like we found the trapped system around a red giant where it's possible that 3 planets are in the habitable zone, to go with that terminology. But because it's a red dwarf, did I say giant?
Yeah, you said giant, but you meant dwarf.
Yeah, it's a giant dwarf, same thing, right? The trapped star is a dwarf. It's tiny, and so the planets are much closer in, which means the planets are getting hit with much more radiation of the mutagenic kind and less of the light kind. Which means from our point of view, life is impossible. The planets should be sterilized. But that's from our point of view. Other life, we know other life is capable of developing for higher radiation levels because we've seen it. We found bacteria growing in fucking nuclear reactors that seem to eat the radiation. So not only can some life survive it, but actually benefit from it. It's possible. We don't know. It's taken from another dimension. I'm reminded of one of my favorite sci-fi stories, Project Hail Mary, where a human astronaut encounters an alien, among other things. Well, technically multiple aliens, but whatever. This one alien in particular, he's alone because the crew on his ship were all killed by radiation from traveling at near light speed. Because when you get up near light speed, every hydrogen atom in space effectively becomes a gamma ray. And it killed them all because they didn't know radiation existed, because their planet's atmosphere is so thick and their magnetic field is so strong. The radiation part of solar radiation never reached the developing life on their planet. So they didn't evolve any ability to cope with it. We have a limited ability to cope with it because of our magnetic field. But other life might not have any limit on their ability. We don't know. We just don't know because we only have ourselves to look at for now. No wonder we're so narcissistic.
This is one thing that I love about sci-fi, and especially some sci-fi authors, is like the types of aliens they come up with are absolutely hilarious and just delightful, like a super intelligent shade of the color blue.
Why not?
Yeah.
It's not okay. So goodness. So even though purple is my favorite color, my favorite wavelength is 420 nanometers, which puts it into the blue range. The reason is not because it's 420. It's because that happens to be the frequency of photons emitted by particles moving at higher than the local speed of light. Faster than light particles emit a radiation. It's called Cherenkov radiation. We observe it in nuclear reactors. They have this interesting blue glow. That's what that is. 420 nanometers. It's radiation put off because the particles escaping the nuclear reactor, the protons and neutrons and shit, they're moving faster than the local speed of light because the reactor is surrounded by water, and the speed of light through water is a hell of a lot slower than the speed of light through empty space. So they are moving faster than the local speed of light, and that radiation serves as a kind of friction, a drag on the local space-time.
It's pretty.
And it's also associated with time travel. Because if you're moving faster than light, technically you're time traveling.
Technically, yes.
Yeah. Because if you're moving faster than the local speed of light, even if you're not in empty space, you arrive before you left. As far as causality and light cones goes. So you are time traveling. And that just amuses me. We have observed particles time traveling. We just don't call it that because it gives people strange ideas.
Yeah. Don't give them ideas.
Yeah, humans aren't mature enough for. So time travel. I've tried doing time travel episodes before. They haven't gone as well as you might hope. In fact, we made one of them a joke because we did an episode twice to make it like we were time traveling, but never mind. But I digress. We are time traveling right now. You are doing it. You are moving into the future at the rate of 1 second per local second. When we talk about time travel, we aren't necessarily talking about skipping ahead in a dimensional portal kind of way, or jumping backwards in a magical phone booth kind of way. We're talking about altering the rate so that for every 1 second you experience, 2 seconds pass, or half a second passes, or you go a second the other direction. Whatever the case may be, if we can alter the rate, we can time travel in the way people think of it. But you are traveling through time right now. In fact, you can't help it. The same way you're being gravitationally accelerated towards the center of the Earth at 9.8 meters per second squared. You can't help it. But the fact you're being gravitationally accelerated towards the center of the Earth at 9.8 meters per second squared regulates how fast you're moving through time. If that gravitational acceleration were higher, your movement through time would be slower, and vice versa. And so that gives us our first, easiest way to manipulate the speed of local time flow. How to utilize it, that's a bigger question. Lil has the thing.
Just slingshot him around a black hole.
Yeah, fly backwards around the sun, faster than the speed of light. Oh shit, I have hit the wrong button. I am bad at my job. There we go. When I bigify someone, the button to put them back to normal size is behind the view counter, and that makes it really hard to click on.
That's odd.
It's fabulous design. I don't know. I mean, I can't move the view counter, and why is it even on the same screen? Like the view counter could be off of the window where we're appearing in, but no, it's in the corner. Whatever. I just work here. Right-handed Sith asks, Is it a regular glass phone booth or a blue police phone booth? So you could conceivably time travel with either, but it depends on how it works. Like one of them, you need to understand a very esoteric control system based on operating a sophisticated console, and the other is a TARDIS. Because remember, Bill and Ted had to enter like a phone number equivalent for time-space coordinates.
Oh God! Oh my God! I've totally forgot about that. Wow, it's been a
Oh my. Skeptic Philosophy says, so wait, so this isn't actually a live chat? I mean, with dead internet theory, all things are possible. We could all be bots. I could be a bot. Who knows? Or maybe, because of time travel, Lil and I are in the distant past, and we're seeing your messages because of Cherenkov-related quantum communication or something. This is what enables us to do prophecy, because we can see what's happening in real time, but in the future. So we can predict in the present what will happen in the future as it happens in real time. See how that works? Makes total sense. I've been working on a another project because, as I've mentioned a number of times, I have to find ways to get YouTube to make more money. And so I'm contemplating, I'm working out the details of how I can do something a bit more like Justin from Deconstruction Zone does, except without his encyclopedic knowledge of the Bible and my unique understandings of combinations of physics and genetics and psychology and philosophy and the things that I understand that Justin doesn't. And so I'm working on it. And some of you noticed I typed in the chat at the beginning of the show with a different account that the reason that other account is there is because we're still getting harassment people and whatnot, and most of them I have blocked with my account, but that doesn't mean they can't show up on the channel. So if I can't see them and they show up, I need another account where they're not blocked so that I can block them from the channel. Because the two things that if somebody's blocked from the channel, they aren't necessarily blocked from my account, which is also the channel. It's so weird. TLDR, I needed a second account with managing mod capabilities to deal with the assholes. Fortunately, I haven't seen any pop up, or if they have, the other mods have dealt with them already, which we very much appreciate. But that's the reason that other account is there. Yeah, I digressed upon digression, and I have lost track of what I am doing. However, if you want to better understand, we have so many fun clips. Oh my goodness.
I was about to say, we have a ton of them. We have some.
We do.
Although I say pickles.
You did what now?
I say pickles, although I've got Pixie.
I know. Well, I mean, we could do I have I don't think I have the doggo one on here. I could switch over and do the doggo one. You know what? Let's do that. Why the hell? Why the hell not? Let's do that. We'll switch over. We're space traveling, and we're suddenly in a Java and Jugs episode. And oh my goodness, folks! On Monday, you have to join us for Java and Jugs because people have been making new commercial breaks for us. We have so many. They're so fun. You're gonna love them. So anyway, puppy time.
Sometimes I chill or hang out at the bar, but I never stay long or go very far. You could say I am lame or that I am fickle, but I'd rather be at home playing with my pickle That's my dog, she's a big deal. That's my dog, let's keep it real. Don't take offense if I don't answer the phone. Instead I'm loving on my girl and giving her a bone. People call me a dud, like a busted missile, but I'd rather be in my bed, petting my pickle. That's my doggy, she's a big deal. That's my dog, let's keep it real. That's my dog, she's a big deal. That's my dog, let's keep it real. It's not that I don't like you or wanna hang out, but if I had to choose, never was there a doubt. If you need to feel good, in fact it might tickle, you should come to my house and wrestle with my pickle. That's my big deal. That's my dog, let's keep it real.
Hell yeah. Puppy time. You know, there is a non-zero chance that puppies will be the next sentient species to follow us. Because some of them are pretty damn smart. Really, all they really lack is opposable thumbs, and their dew claw can do some of the things that opposable thumbs are good for. So, can't rule it out. Or something. Alrighty, let's try to get back to Drake here. So we have estimates. We have estimates, but they're very rough estimates. There's a lot of assumptions in the estimates. So criticisms related to the Drake equation focuses not on the equation itself, but on the fact that the estimated values for several factors are highly conjectural. The combined multiplicative effect being that the uncertainty associated with any derived value is so large that the equation cannot be used to draw firm conclusions. But that's sort of the point, is to say, here's the best we can get this number, but we can't know, you know? So we should look, because that's how we do science, is not by figuring out, doing our philosophy in our heads and being like, oh, well, it stands to reason, yada, yada. We go look, we form a hypothesis and we test it. So in order to find out better information for a better estimate, or even better yet, to find fucking aliens, is to go look. And so that's what we're kind of low key doing, but yeah, it's, oh, goodness. Brent says the equation is like a trolley problem. There isn't an answer, but rather a question. Well, yes and no. There could be an answer. If we find aliens, that is an answer. But it does have that downside of being unfalsifiable, insofar as we can keep not finding aliens and it'll never rule out the possibility of finding aliens, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's an oof. We have the same problem with life on Mars, right? Like we keep looking and looking and we keep not finding it, but that doesn't mean it won't be under the next rock, you know?
Yeah.
It's an oof.
It's one of those things that it's like even if we had a better understanding of what life actually requires, the universe is still so big, and on top of that, there's so much that can still be possible, that like, who's to say that like in some other galaxy it's like they have a planet over there that doesn't use, or life that doesn't use carbon the way we do. We just will not know until we come across it. So yeah, it's
yeah, we don't even know for certain that life has to be carbon based. It's very useful.
Mm-hmm.
It's relatively prevalent, at least in our neck of the universe, but it's not necessarily. Yeah.
I like the phrase whenever anybody asks like if a new discovery is aliens, of it's never aliens until it's aliens. You have to rule out everything
Yeah,
else first.
it's sort of a weird interplay of ideas in the skeptic community, right? Like,
Mhm.
we would never believe it when a theist comes at us and is like, oh, it's never a god until it's God. But some of us who consider ourselves skeptics will say the same thing, but replace God with aliens, and it seems like a legitimate thing to say. Now, there is this. Aliens, at least, would be a naturalistic thing. We're not proposing magic, but it's a similar explanation that doesn't actually explain anything that is unfalsifiable, you know?
Yeah.
It's an oof. So, yeah. We see the equation again, and it breaks down what the things are, but we already did that, so hooray. This form of the equation first appeared in Drake's 1965 paper, citation, and again, it's interesting that he felt the need to break it down so much because, again, the point was to try to inspire people to go gather more data, to be like, look, in order to get a good answer for this, first we have to have real information about the average rate of star formation. We need the real information about the percentage of stars that have planets, the real information about the planets that could support life, the planets of those that do support life, the planets where that life develops into intelligence, the portion of those civilizations that develop their technology enough that we could communicate, and the amount of time those civilizations exist for. It's all guesses at this point. There again, we've been collecting data. It's getting better, but it's still guesses. So it's an oof. It's an oof. In September 1959, this is history. We do love the history. Oh, and a big old radio telescope. Radio telescopes were so cool, right? Like, so shortly after we gained radio technology, we were like, oh, radio is just another form of electromagnetic radiation. We can use it to see, just not with our eyes. And radio can punch through things like dust clouds, for example. Light waves get blocked by dust, but radio can go right through. Cool shit. And it's a lot easier to build a radio telescope than a visual telescope. Because for those, you need a big fucking mirror. But a radio telescope, you just need wires. You don't even need a full piece of metal. Like, frames will work because the only thing that matters is the wavelength. And if the wavelength is longer than your mesh, from the wave's perspective, from the photon's perspective, that radio photon, it's a solid surface. If it can't fit through the gap, there's no gap. And that's kind of handy for radio. So yeah, we could suddenly build a lot bigger telescopes, just not in a visual spectrum. Now, radio has other properties. It's subject to electromagnetic interference in a way that light typically isn't, for example. But it's got some cool properties that we can take advantage of, too. So, 1959, physicist Giuseppe Cocconi, which I probably mispronounced, and Philip Morrison published an article in Nature with the provocative title, Searching for Interstellar Communications. Cocconi and Morrison argued that radio telescopes had become sensitive enough to pick up transmissions that might be broadcast into space by civilizations orbiting other stars. Which is a little bit of sci-fi dreaminess in their case. It's theoretically possible, but remember, whenever you're transmitting anything, it's subject to the inverse square law, right? Like terrestrial radio stations, right? Many of us don't use them anymore, but we remember what they're like. If you get too far from the radio tower, the signal starts to flicker out. It gets very, very weak, and eventually you lose it entirely. Signal strength falls off with the square of the distance. So if you start at a certain distance and you have strong signal and you double that distance, you're now twice as far away, you're getting a quarter of the signal strength because the signal is diffusing in a sphere. It's not even just a 360-degree circle. It's a sphere. So you're losing it in every direction. It gets weaker really fast, which means to transmit a signal more than a few miles, you need a ridiculously powerful transmitter. And to transmit a signal clear across the solar system, you need a stupidly powerful transmitter. And to get a signal to another star, we don't have that much power ourselves yet. We cannot produce a signal like that yet.
Mhm.
So it's maybe that won't be the method an alien would use to communicate, but theoretically it's possible you could use radio that way. So we hypothesized, because being humans, we thought the coolest technology we had is the best technology possibly available, and therefore would be the technology aliens must be using. And so all of our hypothesization, our sci-fi, our dreams, our theories, all of it is based on the best thing humans can do right now.
Mm-hmm.
C'est la vie. It's another drawback of our species, is we tend to assume that we're the best at everything ever, period.
Yeah. To be fair, though, we have done some really cool stuff.
We have.
We've
Like
imaged a
space
black hole.
telescopes. What now?
I said we've imaged a black hole. We've imaged 2 of them.
That's true. And that's such a weird trick, because you shouldn't be able to see something that isn't there and doesn't give up any radiation.
I love it. That's like my favorite thing from like the last 100 years as far as like scientific discoveries. Like I love that. I like black holes. What can I say?
Yeah. There's a lot of interesting stuff. Sapphire points out, if I recall correctly, this expansion of the universe causes a lot of light to fall into the radio range by the time it reaches us. That's true. The cosmic microwave background radiation, for example, granted that's microwave range, but it's directly adjacent to the radio range. And there is some overlap. You could consider it to be a radio frequency signal, but details. That light, if you will, if you want to call it light, was originally emitted based on our best estimates of the age of the universe and the rate of the expansion and the absorption and emission lines we can see in the CMB. It was emitted at a temperature roughly analogous to the temperature of our sun, give or take a few hundred degrees Kelvin. And since the emission spectra of any light source is determined by the temperature of the emitter, entirely by the temperature, that means at the moment of the last scattering, when the CMB was first emitted to run free through the universe, the whole universe was the temperature of the surface of the sun, give or take a couple hundred degrees Kelvin, which means the whole universe was basically in the visible light spectrum. And today, that same light that when it was emitted would have been visible to our naked eyes, which is a weird coincidence, but nonetheless, there we are. It's been stretched so much, it's in the microwave band now. Now, of course, that's the most stretched light there is, because that's from the last scattering. Any light emitted before that would have been rescattered by the very condensed universe at the time. But light emitted shortly after is also very, very stretched. Like the light JWST is finding from the oldest galaxies, for example, is stretched in the infrared so far that you'd probably consider it a radio wave. It's pretty crazy.
So, although yeah. I do have one slight little tangent. Whenever the Event Horizon Telescope released the image from the Milky Way supermassive black hole called Sagittarius A star, I had a friend of mine send me a charm for my bracelet with the picture of it.
You got a black hole on your bracelet?
Yeah. That got to me about a week later, a week after this image was uploaded.
Wow. Yeah, we are not fucking around with our trinkets and decorations, and we're not waiting for NASA to release a commemorative pin. We're taking the image and we're putting it on our own shit.
I wasn't waiting. I was waiting for that project. I know people in the community, and so I had a heads up it was coming, and I'm like, oh, I can't wait for this. one of my friends was like, "What has got you like so uppity?" I'm like, "There's gonna be a press conference." They're like, "No, there's not." Yes, there is. There's gonna be a press conference. It's gonna be huge. They're like, "What the hell are you?" And of course, nobody geeks out over the stuff like I do. So.
Oh, I supremely relate. Like, I find black holes fascinating for a whole bunch of reasons. But I had a similar reaction with New Horizons when it was approaching Pluto. Because, I mean, first of all, Pluto's so cool. It was a total mystery for so long. And it takes so long to go around the sun. And why is it at the weird orbit that it is? And then we discovered Charon, and then we discovered all the other little bitty moonlit things like Nix and whatnot. And it just, what little we knew was all fascinating and compelling. Was it just a big ass comet that got stuck in an orbit? Was like, what was it? What was going on? And as we got closer and closer, and I started to learn more and more physics and astrophysics and astrogeology, as you like all these different things, I'm like, hold the fuck on. I started TLDR, really long tangent, very, very summarized. I hypothesized that a big giant moon is far more important to a planet's habitability than its distance from the star. And I mean far more important, because it's our big giant moon that makes the tides happen, that makes the oceans flow, that keeps the mantle liquid. It's acting like a gravitational stir stick. While Venus and Mars have both effectively frozen tectonically, Earth is still so active our crust is only a couple miles thick. It's mostly liquid, and it's mostly because if you've ever taken a credit card and bent the plastic back and forth real fast, it gets really hot. Now try doing that with rock. So the moon is keeping the planet tectonically active in a way that the other planets aren't experiencing, which is driving our magnetic field. And so there's so many factors. It seems to be that a big giant moon is critical to having the conditions that make life possible. And here we had a space probe very quickly approaching the only other rocky body in our solar system with a big giant moon of enough size that it would gravitationally impact the world. And so I was really fascinated in what we were going to find. And a few months before we got there, I tweeted at NASA, and I was like, guys, once we, obviously we're going to take all the pictures possible of the planet. Once we fly past, turn the camera around and see what you can see about the atmosphere. And they fucking did it. And they found the atmosphere of Pluto is fucking blue. There's only one way to get a blue atmosphere, folks, because that requires Compton scattering from O2 molecules in the atmosphere. There's only one way to do it. Now, it doesn't 100% confirm my theory, but I was so fucking tickled that Pluto had a blue sky, because it was just a shot in the dark hypothesis. Just go look, right? Like, I didn't even have time to do up a paper and submit it for peer review and shit. I just had to tweet at them. But they were like, why not? And so they did. And we got these cool pictures. They would have been cool pictures anyway, of seeing the color of Pluto's atmosphere the same way we see the color of Earth's atmosphere from spacecrafts on the backside of the Earth, right? It would have been cool anyway. But the fact it was blue. Raleigh scattering. Damn it. Raleigh scattering is the atmosphere. Compton scattering is when ice does it. But that's not important. It just, it tickled me endlessly. You seem to be muted, Lil.
I was going to say, I remember the whole hubbub about whether Pluto is a planet or not. And then I remember there were people that I was actually in college with who were like, well, why are we even bothering sending a spaceship to, or a spacecraft to Pluto if it's not even a planet anymore? I'm like, oh, dude, why are you in this class if you're asking that?
Why did we send a spacecraft to the moon if it's not a planet? Like, what do you mean? But also, fun thing about it, New Horizons was on its way while Pluto was still a planet, and it got demoted en route.
Yeah.
And that's why Neil deGrasse Tyson is famous, because he led the charge to demote Pluto.
It was it took what, 9 years? I think. Was it 9 or 12 years? I think it was 9 years to get to Pluto.
We launched it in 1999. When did it actually arrive? Because it's been a minute. When did New Horizons reach Pluto? Because it's still going. It's going to go find other stuff. July 14th.
Oh yeah, we can't stop it.
Yeah. Okay, I guess it wasn't 1999 because it says launch was January 19th, Martin Luther King Day, 2006. Well, it's only Martin Luther King Day if it's the Monday, but whatever. So yeah,
it got a gravity boost from Jupiter, it looks like. So it definitely picked up some speed.
I love that gravitational slingshot effects are a thing because it gives us a real logistical excuse to shoot all our probes by big, massive bodies. Mm-hmm. So we get lots of things going past Jupiter and Saturn and shit.
Which Jupiter and Saturn are so cool. Like, if anybody's seen the photos from Juno that before they did away with Juno, but like the photos are just they're so incredible. They're so cool. I want to see one to Neptune though. Neptune is my planet. I want to see Neptune up close and personal.
Yeah, here's some of the various published images from Juno. Poking around Jupiter, like some of this stuff, like Jupiter has a blue bottom. Like we could see the stripe dimly, but like it's so because we think of it like with the orange and white stripes, but wait, there's more. It's like a fucking Van Gogh down at the bottom here. You know, it's so neat.
It's crazy. It's really cool.
Like it literally looks like an impressionist painting.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like
those
Van Gogh was a prophet.
Yeah, it almost looks like those like I forgot what they're called. Those like swirly designs that like if you cross your eyes and then another picture, the magic eye thingies. It almost looks kind of like one of those, but that's an actual photograph. It's so cool.
So here's another random fun fact about Jupiter. It's a metal planet. People think of it as a gas giant, and that's kind of true, but not entirely true. Its gravity is so intense that it is mostly hydrogen, but just a short way down, and by a short way, I mean a few thousand miles, the hydrogen gets forced by the pressure into liquid hydrogen, and a few thousand miles more, and the liquid hydrogen becomes metallic liquid hydrogen. So the vast majority of the center of the planet is just metal hydrogen all the way through. It is a metal planet. Holy shit.
Yeah, which is really, that's one of the craziest things about Jupiter. When I heard that, I was just like, holy crap, dude. Yeah. And it's so big.
It does have iron and other things, you know, because a lot of shit has crashed into it. You know, asteroids with their nickel iron cores, lead, all these other heavy things. There's definitely stuff going on in the core, and the really, really dense stuff, even in the metallic hydrogen layer, is going to sink right down to the middle. If you crashed into Jupiter, yes, you'd be crushed into particles in fairly short order, but your particles would sink right down to the middle of Jupiter. Never to be seen again.
And one of the coolest things about Jupiter, too, is how flippin' huge it is. You can fit all the other planets inside of it.
It's the secret pocket of the solar system.
It's huge. And it's still not big enough to be a star.
Yeah, not by a long shot, which is wild. Like there've been people hypothesizing that we could use modified particle colliders, and we mean stupid big particle colliders, like the size of Mars's orbit around the sun. But we could create artificial singularities and drop those singularities into Jupiter to stellarize it. It'll only burn for 1,000,000 years or so while the singularity in its heart eats away at it, and then it will go nova and blow up the entire solar system out to Pluto. But for that 1,000,000 years or so, we'd have a second small sun in the outer solar system. Good plan.
Yeah. I mean, if you have multiple solar systems you could do that with, maybe. But I kind of like ours. I'd like to kind of keep ours as is. That would be nice for now.
I mean, you know, they all have an expiration date, but it would be such a human thing to do, to literally light a fuse to a nova, like the biggest stick of dynamite ever, and be like, guys, I found a candle.
Mm-hmm.
Such a human thing to do.
Yeah, yeah, we would do that. Absolutely.
No take candle. Oh, goodness. This is why the aliens won't talk to us, friends.
Yeah. We're a little crazy.
But, well, I mean, a little. All right. Speaking of crazy people. Oh my goodness. So, all right. I want to play a couple really, really short clips, and then we'll do an actual break. Because I do want to try to get... Lil is going to be doing politicality over at the Kentucky Atheist. The stream will redirect you right over there. That's at 1 p.m. So I'm trying to run a little bit late so that we can send you over in a reasonable amount of time without a big gap and whatnot. And hopefully you're having fun and enjoying your time here. But I do want to take a little break. But first I want to show you these fun little clips from last night reaming Piers.
I am a male. And by the way, if I took you on at pickleball with enough training, I would win. You know why? That's why we separate the sexes.
Because sexism. He's a centrist, slightly on the left, but he's like aggressively sexist. But it gets better. That same athlete that he would beat because he's a male and she's a female.
You know, Pierce, you opened this up saying if you trained hard enough, you could beat me easily.
Yeah.
So how do you see me? Am I a male or am I a female? Because if you think you can easily beat me because you're
well,
a male,
I happen to be
and
very
I'm
good
female,
at pickleball, so that's a different matter altogether.
You kind of tattled on yourself there. I'm just saying.
Sarah is a trans woman. Piers kind of forgot for a second. So even the people who can always tell can't tell, even when they know ahead of time. Even when he invited her because she's a trans athlete, he knew, and he still did the sexist dumbassery. Oh goodness!
Yeah. They can't help themselves.
Yeah, because how do you see a person? That's the point. That's gender. But this show isn't about gender. I'm just laughing at Piers. Here's a few more people who have similarly horrible beliefs.
I have a problem with this stuff being normalized across the spectrum, and specifically, like, why push this on kids? Why introduce this to kids?
I am a depraved wretch. I am a great sinner. I'm a worm, completely undeserving of any love or any grace. I'm nothing. I'm nothing.
You're incapable of being a good person. You're an evil person. You're a terrible person. At the core fabric of who you are. That's why we need laws. We need laws because we're bad people. All of us are bad people.
You can't spell Pride Month without demon. PRIDEMONTH.
If we don't know who the women are, because they are just people, then we won't be able to pull the women up to equality with men.
We have to try to limit the harm. And that means reducing or keeping down the number of people who transition. And that's for two reasons. One of them is that every one of those people is a person who's been damaged. But the second one is every one of those people is basically, you know, a huge problem to a sane world.
Transgenderism must be eradicated.
The LGBT, transgender, grooming our children's minds is a national security threat. We need to hold people for treason, start having some public hearings, and start executing people.
I will use whatever gives me victory. I don't care about the truth, and I don't care about the law. I care about one thing, the control.
But then they rigged the election, and now we won, so I'm going to be your president. Then what happened is they rigged the election, and I became president, so that was a good thing.
I agreed with many, many things you said during
in fact, probably more than most other candidates when you were running for president. But I still would not have voted for you because you're an Indian.
I just want to say I feel good about the Republican Party. I feel good about where we're going as a nation. We're killing all the right people and we're cutting your taxes.
It was actually a tremendous blessing to these children for them to be killed and go to heaven and be with God.
We've been hoodwinked. We've been taken in by an ideology crafted by creeps and then pushed on children.
Stop letting people pressure you into thinking.
If they die, they die.
I want to be ignorant, honestly.
Being a Christian doesn't exclude us from experiencing spiritual dryness.
We're bad people. All of us are bad people.
And if you're experiencing spiritual dryness, water filters. EpicWaterFilters.com, code Ember 15. Guaranteed to help. It's holy water, folks. It is filtered so good. The water you get is so pure. It's holy, not that nasty bacteria soup you get in the churches. This stuff will actually wash away your sins. Guaranteed. You won't have any more real sins. They'll be got there because, yep, that's how that works. So get saved and save the planet. EpicWaterFilters.com, code Ember 15. That's the alternative version to and if you're a dirty slut for water, be a responsible hydro hoe and use protection. I should do the dirty one more often. Oh, goodness.
I like both of them.
They both have their possibilities. So I try to use them where they fit when I think of it. I'm bad at thinking of it. Speaking of being a dirty hydro hoe, Bree says, I want to marry Sarah Weiss and have her babies. I appreciate the sentiment. I'm done having babies. Holy shit. I am so done. But Sarah Weiss is fucking delightful. And Jer says, I shared some very important information, travel information above. I'm not seeing it.
I'm available.
I don't know if it got hidden or what the deal is, but I don't see it either in the stream control room or on the channel live. Because the last message I have from you before that, Aunt Jer, is exactly. And before that is Theo, the arms aren't broken off. They're still there, just in the wrong position. So I don't know. Maybe I'm a crazy person, but I don't see it. I can't find it. Oh goodness. Bartholomew says, I got a shirt from NASA that says size matters, and it has a picture of Pluto. Oh my. Oh my. Oh yeah. It's Dr. Kip says, I'm having babies vicariously through my children. That's grandparenting, right?
This is the great thing about being a grandparent. You can play with them all you want and then hand them back to their parents. It's a perk.
Oh, goodness. Okay. I have to. I don't know why it didn't. I bet I know why. It's probably whatever you said, Andrew. It triggered one of YouTube's automatic invisible comment words, even for mods. But yeah, let me bigify the thing. How the fuck do I open? I know there's a way to do it. Open. Okay. Share. Girls go to Mars to eat more candy bars. Boys go to Jupiter to get more stupider. And NBs go to Pluto because fuck gender.
Yes. What? Wait, what about Neptune? I like Neptune, though.
I mean, you can go wherever the hell you want, Lil.
Okay. I'll go to Neptune. That's blue. How can you not like blue?
Yeah. I mean, it's cold and windy. And everything is very heavy there. I don't know. I can't. I'm not sure which word pissed off YouTube, but something did. Probably. I don't know. Because I mean, like, it's not fuck. That word shows up. I've seen it. Maybe it's Jupiter. I don't know. Nope, we've got comments with Jupiter in it. It just, yeah. But as Theo says, that is good travel information. So yes, thank you, Danger. Oh boy. All right. I suppose we should like do the thing. We're doing a thing. Oh, my head hurts so much. I took medicine before the show and it still hurts so much. All right, continuing on. Messages from space messages, maybe. And we have gotten some messages from space. We got the wow signal, which we're not sure what the hell that was. We have gotten repeating signals that seem to be artificial and turned out to be like pulsars. But like, we have gotten signals. They're just natural so far. So messages might be transmitted at a wavelength of 21 centimeters. They might be. This is the wavelength of radio emission by neutral hydrogen, the most common element in the universe. And they reason that other intelligences might see this as a logical landmark in the radio spectrum. TBH, that's a bad idea. And I'll tell you why. Because when you have an element that emits at a specific frequency, it also absorbs at that specific frequency. And since neutral hydrogen is the most common element in the universe, if you emit a signal, if you transmit a signal at the same frequency that element will absorb, you will dampen your signal as much as you possibly can. It's like, for instance, glass. Real glass windows are impenetrable to infrared radiation. So if you use a true IR viewer on a glass window, it looks like a solid wall. It'd be like emitting a Morse code signal with a flashlight in infrared through a glass window. It's like trying to beam a signal directly into something that's opaque. Not a great plan. It might be the most common element in the universe, but that's a good reason to not do that because it will get absorbed everywhere, like immediately. 2 months later, Harvard University astronomy professor Harlow Shapley speculated on the number of inhabited planets in the universe, saying the universe has 10 million, 10 followed by 18 zeros suns, similar to our own. Not just total suns, but suns similar to our own. And clearly our sun is the best sun because it's ours. That's how that works. 1 in a million has planets around it. Now, that's pure speculation. But even if we allow such a ridiculously low number, which seems to not be the case, our current day information seems to indicate that virtually every star that can have planets does have planets. And that's virtually every star. Like, we found planets around binaries. If there's hunks of rock orbiting binaries, the weird gravitational influence should either crash it into one or the other or fling it off into space. And still there's planets in stable orbits around the mutual center of the binaries. So yeah, there's planets even when there shouldn't be planets. There's planets all over the damn place. My goodness. So even if it were 1 in a million has planets around it, only 1 in a million has the right combination of chemicals, temperature, water, days and nights to support planetary life as we know it. Again, just making numbers up and way more rare than what information we have available seems to indicate is truly the case. This calculation arrives at the estimated figure of 100 million worlds where life has been forged by evolution, as opposed to planted by intelligent designer aliens. Now, interestingly, nobody ever looks at the Drake equation as a means of determining alien involvement, right? We're constantly looking for the probability of another civilization being able to signal us. We're trying to calculate the likelihood there's an alien civilization and trying to find aliens that way. But if we discover there are more planets than there should be, more life than there should be, more intelligence than there should be, any of these things is clearly off. It's kind of shows signs of an artificial something interfering in the natural development of our galaxy, which pretty strongly would point to aliens. It's not 100%. It could be a god, but it's probably aliens, you know? I think you're muted again.
I'm just sitting here thinking, I'm like, I think aliens would have a bigger interest in my life than a god would. But then again, they probably don't give a shit.
Considering Earth is either, you know, reality TV for the aliens, as has been proposed by legendary philosopher Douglas Adams, or Earth is an experiment by aliens, as was proposed by legendary philosopher Douglas Adams, or Earth is a science experiment to try to recreate evolution, as proposed by legendary philosopher Douglas Adams, or you know, there's a lot of possible uses for life on Earth, and if aliens are involved in any of them, they might be watching for some reason or different reasons, you know.
I like the reality TV version because that's the only thing that makes any sense in this timeline we're on.
It's why we keep getting shoved into stupid fucking drama that does nothing for anybody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can come up to. Like, I hated reality TV when it premiered. I've hated it ever since, and I hate it even more now. So
I blame the writers. It's did you ever see a John Candy movie? Delirious. Maybe it was just Delirious, but he played a writer on a soap opera, and he got into he had an accident, hit on the head, something like that, and he dreamed that he was in the soap opera, but he had his typewriter and he could still use his powers as a writer of the show to determine what happens in the world of the soap opera.
Oh, dude, that would be crazy.
It was pretty funny. Yeah. Oh my god. Now I'm curious. Oh, major tangent. John Candy. Yeah, just Delirious, a 1991 film. Yeah. Technically it's a rom-com because we don't have like straight comedies anymore. We don't have just a comedy. It's always a romance, but they put comedy into it so that people will actually watch it. It's wild. I don't understand. And don't get me wrong, I love romances, but like, stop trying to hide comedies or stop trying to hide romances as comedies. We want comedies. Damn it. Not everything has to be a love story that's pretending to be a comedy.
Isn't that the entire point of like the Hallmark Channel? Just trying to slip a romance everywhere.
It's just romance. It's badly written romance. It's like porno romance, except without the sex, right?
I have somebody in my family that leaves it on one of the Hallmark channels, and I'm so glad I don't watch TV anymore. I'm glad I'm done with that.
Yeah, right. I mean, regular TV is pretty fucking useless in the first place, but yeah, great filters. That's another thing. I meant to get to this at the end of the show, but I'm tangenting so hard. I don't know if we're gonna get that far. So let's talk about it now. Great filters, solutions to the Fermi paradox, right? Because there's another formula that goes with the Drake equation, and that's the Fermi paradox, and that's why aren't we hearing from any other species? What's happening? Where is everybody? Where are all the aliens? Well, part of it relates to the Drake equation. You have to have the right technological window to be able to communicate. We need to have enough technology to hear from them. They need to be in the right window to send it to us, and so on and so forth. Another proposed solution are the great filters, and there's several great filters. One of them is out of control global warming. A species gains technological capability faster than the intellectual acumen to control and responsibly use their technology, end up burning out their environment and extincting themselves. Another is that they're too warlike and they wipe themselves out in a nuclear war. And another is they develop AI. The AI takes over, you get a Terminator future, and the robots run everything. You could still hear from that civilization, though. It'd just be their robot descendants after the biological life has been wiped from the planet. But you could still hear from them. In fact, some people have hypothesized that there is inevitably somewhere in the galaxy exactly that kind of civilization. And they're just lurking in the recesses, waiting to receive radio signals from nascent biological civilizations, homing in on them and doing a Cyberman to their planets. Oh, look, a new sentient species. We'd better go delete them, you know? For their own good or something. Not all the great filters are total destruction for the biological life form. There's also the possibility that they develop the ability to digitize themselves. They upload their consciousnesses into a cloud and stop existing for most intents and purposes in physical reality. And so they don't need to send signals and things. You might just have an alien show up one day in a, the physical extension of the digital network that they'll dwell in, so they can gawk at the primitive ape-like life forms running around on this planet, sort of thing. But we could still hear from them. We could also turn into them. It's still a bit of a reach, but it's quite possible we could figure out how to upload ourselves. We're arguably we're in the early stages of that with the Neuralink nonsense. Now, Neuralink, as proposed by Elon, is almost definitely not going to do anything useful. Maybe read your brain, maybe control some of your thoughts, maybe influence your mood. It'll make you into robot soldiers, maybe, if it gets more advanced. Or let him install an AI to take over your brain. It'll probably never get that advanced, but it's first steps.
Far away from me. Just far on the other side of the world away from me.
What if they figure out how to inject Neuralink nanites through a vaccine? Nobody tell the conspiracy theorists.
Oh, dear God.
They can't handle it.
No kidding.
Mm-hmm.
On that note, I am going to hop out of here because I have politicality in 3 minutes, and I need to make sure all my stuff is working and make sure that my dogs are settled so they don't give their opinions the entire time.
I mean, puppy opinions are often welcome. But yeah, thank you for stopping by. Everybody remember, this show will take you over to politicality when we wrap up here. So we'll be seeing Lil again in the next show. So stick around for that.
Love you guys. Bye.
All right, now I'll actually focus and try to get somewhere with this. Ember, focus. Have you met her? Oh, goodness. Okay, so where the hell were we? Calculation gives us a figure of 100 million worlds where life is forged by evolution. Cool. 7 months after Cocconi and Morrison published their article, Drake began searching for extraterrestrial intelligence in an experiment called Project Ozma. It was a search for extraterrestrial intelligence started in 1960 by Cornell University astronomer Frank Drake at the National Radio Astronomy Observatory in Green Bank at Green Bank, West Virginia. And there's more article, but that's enough for right now. It's interesting that all these great astrophysics types came out of Cornell. Very interesting. Anyway, it was the first systematic search for signals from communicative extraterrestrial civilizations using the 85-foot, that would be 26 meters for the civilized world, dish of the National Radio Astronomy Observatory, Green Bank in Green Bank, West Virginia. Drake monitored 2 nearby sun-like stars, Epsilon Eridani and Tau Ceti. Now, those are interesting stars, not only because they're both within a 10 light-year radius from Earth, meaning it's theoretically possible for even a sub-light speed vessel to traverse the distance between the two, but they're also weirdly similar to our sun. Like, there are a lot of stars like our sun in the universe. Of course there are, because there's a lot of stars. But there are so many different ways to be a star. First of all, being a single star is kind of rare. Stars seem to pop up in binaries more often than not. For another, you could have a red giant, you could have a blue giant, you could have a red dwarf, you could have all sorts of things. And while main sequence stars aren't uncommon, having two main sequence stars that are in the same general class or category as our sun within a 10 light year radius is wild. The probability is not super high. So that's kind of weird. Also, our sun exhibits some unusual traits in its cyclical nature with the way it gets aggressive with the sunspots and the coronal mass ejections. Even at its most aggressive, it's relatively stable compared to many other stars. And both Epsilon Eridani and Tau Ceti have similar traits. We don't know why they do that just yet. It's probably a coincidence. Much like there's other regions of the galaxy where stars are far more dense, much more populated. The average distance to the next star over in our part of space is around 20 light years. We have several stars within a 10 light year radius. That's a bit unusual. But further in towards the galactic core, the average distance to the next star could be as little as 1 light year or less. They're much, much closer together up in those parts. But it's probably coincidence. The project was well designed, inexpensive, and simple by today's standards, and it detected no signals. So alas, we looked, but we did not find from those two particular stars. Soon thereafter, Drake hosted the first search for extraterrestrial intelligence in a conference on detecting their radio signals. Now again, that'll only detect civilizations that are emitting radio signals. The meeting was held at the Green Bank facility in 1961. The equation that bears Drake's name arose out of his preparations for that meeting. Citation. Let's see. Weedbro said something cool. He puts a spell on the victim to make her want him. Dracula? Dracula. Yeah, probably Dracula. So the day equivalent of a roofie. So more like, ooh, no. Damn it, Dracula. Why are you like that? Zorcross says, if cosmic inflation is correct, we live in a multiverse in which young universes with less than 2 intelligent species outnumber the rest by a 10 to the WTF to 1. Oh, goodness. I don't know that inflation theory makes any predictions about the prevalence of intelligent species. We can estimate. We can use the Drake equation and other similar formulations to take a guess, but yeah, space is big, and the odds of finding aliens is very low. It's very hard. But on a long enough time scale, even very low odds become inevitable. So who knows? So, quote from Drake, as I planned the meeting, I realized a few days ahead of time, we need an agenda. You got to have an agenda. You got to spread the agenda sort of deal thing. A lot of people seem to have forgotten that agenda means a plan, a program, a way to go about doing a thing, or a planner, a document for doing planning with. It's very strange how people don't understand words anymore. And so I wrote down all the things you need to know to predict how hard it's going to be to detect this extraterrestrial life. Well, that's not quite what the Drake equation is for, but details. And looking at them, it became pretty evident that if you multiplied all these together, you got a number, n, which is the number of detectable civilizations in our galaxy. This was aimed at the radio search and not to search for primordial or primitive life forms. That's a whole different search. And we do have other ways to do that. For example, like we mentioned earlier, we've been using JWST and other observatories, Chandra X-ray Observatory, various things to look for telltale signatures of biological processes on distant planets. Sometimes we're finding signals that kind of indicate maybe We don't have a definitive confirmed yes yet, but we're finding some signs, and that's pretty cool. So the 10 attendees to this mini con were organizer J. Peter Pearman, Frank Drake, Philip Morrison, businessman and radio amateur Donna Ashley, chemist Melvin Calvin, astronomer Su Shu Huang, neuroscientist John C. Lilly, inventor Barney Oliver, astronomer Carl Sagan, and radio astronomer Otto Struve. These participants called themselves the Order of the Dolphin. And it's really unfortunate Lil missed that part because I'm sure she'd fucking love it. Because of Lily's work on dolphin communications. You know, speaking with cetaceans. And commemorated in their first meeting with a plaque at the observatory wall. Fucking nerds. I fucking love fucking nerds. Hell yeah. Is it useful? Well, let's see. The Drake equation results in a summary of the factors affecting the likelihood that we might detect radio communication from extraterrestrial life. Citations. The last three parameters, fraction of I, fraction of C, and L, are not known and are very difficult to estimate, with values ranging over many orders of magnitude. See criticism. Therefore, the usefulness of the Drake equation is not in the solving, but rather in the contemplation of all the various concepts which scientists must incorporate when considering the question of life elsewhere. And yeah, there's interesting things to consider about that. Bree says there's an excellent episode of Drunk History about that. About the Drake equation or about the inflation of the universe? I imagine there is. I don't know why. Oh, the Order of the Dolphin, because that's a historical event. Okay, I'm like, a lot of this isn't necessarily history, although drunk science could be interesting. Probably not as interesting as drunk history. But yeah, that does sound like one of those legendary episodes in history, like so many names that you've heard of and that you haven't heard of that get together and do something legendary, and then a drunk expert tells you about them. Could be fun. It could be pretty neat. Oh goodness. All right, I need to skip ahead a bit because I am very quickly running out of energy. So we've got estimates. Again, orders of magnitude. How long will it take us to find an alien civilization using radio waves and the Drake formulations? Somewhere between 1,000 and 100 million years. Just a few order of magnitudes, but that's the educated guesses used by Drake and his colleagues in 1961. And of course, those numbers have been refined considerably in the time since, but still, we can't come up with actual numbers for many of these things at this point. So the current estimates discusses the attempts to list the best estimates for the various parameters of the Drake equation at the moment. And, you know, this is all fascinating stuff in its own way. You know, the average new star's mass is about half a stellar mass, but we do need a star somewhere around sun size. So, yeah, we average is not the same as there's a couple of different ways to calculate an average. I'm sure you remember from high school math class, but you're going to have your middle value and you're going to have other values in other places. So you're going to have some that are smaller, but you're going to have some that are bigger. And some of the bigger ones are going to be in the range we need. Remember, we're still forming giants, red giants, blue giants, so forth. So we're definitely forming stars that are our star size. But also, we don't know that we need a sun-like sun. We know that's a kind of star that can work, but we don't know that it's required. It's not impossible to use another kind of star. A red giant, for example. They don't live nearly as long. It may not be enough time for life to evolve around a planet orbiting a star like that, or life to evolve all the way to intelligence, even assuming it takes a straight line there. but it's not impossible. It's just unlikely based on what we know from the one sample we have, life on Earth, which is an oof. So fraction of the stars that have planets, number of planets that might support life. And again, we're making lots of assumptions based on the planet we do have that supports life. A planet like this under similar conditions, we know can do it. Other planets might be able to, but we don't know that they can. So it's influencing our perspective. It's not unjustified, but it is an influence. And we need to bear in mind there is that influence. So, yeah, November 2013, astronomers reported, based on Kepler data, let's not forget the Keplers up there, that there could be as many as 40 billion Earth-sized planets orbiting in habitable zones of sun-like suns and red dwarf stars within the Milky Way. 11 billion. Ooh, that's a cool picture. I like that picture. That is a Hubble picture. You can tell because of the 4 spikes, but it is a cool fucking picture. So cool. Anyway, 11 billion of these estimated planets may be orbiting sun-like stars. Since there are about 100 billion stars in the galaxy, which is also a estimate, we haven't counted, we haven't done a census, this implies that the fraction of planets and the percentage with environments is roughly 0.4. The nearest planet in the habitable zone is Proxima Centauri b, which is as close as about 4.2 light years away. A point on that, Proxima Centauri is so named because it is the closest star. It's the most approximate to us. It's in the general direction of Alpha Centauri, but whatever. Proxima Centauri b, if I'm not mistaken, it's an exoplanet that's believed to be orbiting within the habitable zone of what's estimated to be the habitable zone, again, based on Earth-like properties, of the red dwarf star Proxima Centauri in the constellation Centaurus, which might be referred to as Proxima b or Alpha Centauri cb, because Proxima Centauri could be considered to be a third star in the binary pair, which we call Alpha Centauri. Alpha Centauri A and B, or Alpha and Beta, are the primary binary, and Proxima Centauri kind of loiters in their general vicinity, about 4 light years away, which, again, at this distance from the galactic core, is kind of stupid close. It's pretty fun. So, yeah. But does it have to be rocky planets? Because the discovery of numerous gas giants in close orbits to their stars have introduced doubt that life-supporting planets commonly survive the formation of their stellar systems. Now, this is the thing everyone's favorite weasel, Dr. Tapioca Weasel, found in his own schooling while he was getting his PhD. I forget if he said it was his post-grad work or one of his dissertation, whatever. But he showed that you can have a gas planet form really close in and then migrate outward. And as a big planet like Jupiter migrates outward after its formation, it's going to fuck up the little planets in its way. And that may be what happened with our Jupiter. It's quite possible that the reason it has 4 planet-sized moons made of rocky planet is it swiped them on its way outward. It just captured them into orbit around itself. Possibly. Can't rule it out. We also know that Proto-Earth got smacked by something about the size of Mars. We also know that Mars got smacked by something also roughly planet-sized. The entire northern hemisphere is missing 5 kilometers of crust, and there's a non-zero possibility that the entire planet's crust is missing and its pure mantle exposed, which may be why it's so iron-rich, because it's mantle material. And then 5 kilometers got knocked off. We don't know. It's hypothesis. This is hypotheses, as the case may be. And also, the asteroids. The asteroid belt doesn't have enough matter to make up either the impactor of Earth or the proposed impactor of Mars, or even the missing matter from Mars. But something got smashed, and the detritus of it formed the asteroid belt. Because you don't get rocks like that unless you have a much larger body that gravitationally forces the grains of dust and sand and whatever is floating around in space into stone. I mean, there's granite up there. You only get that by magma cooling in a long-term environment. You can't just drop magma into space and have it form granite. That doesn't work, you know? So a lot of the asteroids had to be formed in a terrestrial environment, which implies that something smashed a planet, at least knocking material off of it. Some of that material would have gone into the sun. Some of it would have crashed into Jupiter, even if Jupiter wasn't responsible, just given its position. Some of it would have been shot out completely out of the solar system. But some of it might form a belt. Maybe. We're still modeling things. We still don't know everything for sure. But it's fascinating, the possibilities of all the past cataclysms that might have predated our arrival in our solar system. Anyhow, right proportion of elements is difficult to determine. Perhaps 10% of star systems in the Milky Way are hospitable to life by having heavy elements and being far from supernova and stable for a sufficient period of time. Now, that's the thing. We can determine based on the spectra of different stars, based on their absorption lines, which stars have heavy elements. And if a star has heavy elements, then it seems likely that planets around it would have heavy elements, like carbon, for instance, which we need to have life like ours. So we can just look at the light coming from a star, spread it into a spectrum, and determine the chemical composition of the star. The planets will not have the same chemical composition, but the chemical composition of the star gives us a really strong clue as to the chemical composition of the planets. If the star has no iron, the planets are almost definitely going to have no iron, because the star is 99% of the mass of the system, possibly more. If there's iron anywhere, there's going to be iron there, for example. So we can tell if there's heavy metals in stars from a distance, from where we are, using spectroscopy. Distance from exploding supernova. I mean, yeah, that's kind of important. If you're too close to a supernova, it could sterilize your planet. That's not great. And there's a few other factors like that. But we can tell a lot of things that make us whether a star's planets could be habitable or not based on that information. So we can feed that in. Yeah, hot Jupiters migrating from distant orbits to near orbits. Well, kind of the other way. But yeah, planet orbital disruption, probably a thing. And even without Jupiter migrating and causing all the chaos, we know our early solar system, we did have a big impact with something that probably gave us the moon. We do know that Mars had at least one big impact. We know that Uranus had a huge fucking impact. Something knocked it the fuck on its side, which is pretty neat. Aunt Jur says, hot Jupiter's in your area. Maybe it was a hot Jupiter. Maybe Uranus swooned and it presented its anus to the hot Jupiter. I don't know. Oh, fucking hell. Bree says, I told you that in confidence, Ember. Oh, goodness. Alrighty, folks. It's just about time for Joe and Lil to start. I'm gonna do the wrap up thing so that y'all can get over there. It's been an interesting episode. It's been a fun episode. Thank you all so much for joining. It's been a trip. Once again, join us tomorrow. We're doing the history of chemistry, and I'll probably be able to stay on track more. Bonus shows as I'm able. Debate review with Mark on Saturday. Probably something on Sunday, but Job and Jugs Monday morning, we're doing Martin Luther King and what we can learn about effective protests for Martin Luther King Day. And then Devian will be joining me for Learn Together Live. We're going to do Egyptian technology. And then the rest of the week, apocalypse and destruction, starting with conservatives and running through planetary collisions. What could possibly go wrong? So I hope you join us for all of that, plus whatever bonus shows I manage to put together, produce, and things. There's a lot to say and never enough time to say it. So, subscribe, join us, use the buttons. Please use the buttons. It really helps. And as always, remember, you don't have to smash your planet into another body in order to make new life happen. Because you're better than aliens, maybe, possibly. Mwah. We'll see you next. Thanks to all our patrons and top-level members for December. Miranda, Karen Butcher, Jessica the Transmetal Alchemist, Robin Webster, Maya Adkison, Jimmy Tux, Ian Chen, Lilith, Ember Lynn, The Barely Bearable Atheist, Eric Wander, Jason Jacoby, Lil of All Trades, Deviant Outcast, Kelly King, the Detroit Atheist Queen, The Mighty Filbert, Secular Feelinist, and Geo Sam. And you can add your name here next month by signing up at patreon.com/betterthanember, or by joining Emberships here on YouTube at the Cinder level, which includes all the custom emojis, tons of member-exclusive content, member-only live streams, and a bunch of other stuff. I deeply appreciate all the supporters who keep this channel going. Thank you so much. Because of you, we're building a wonderful community that I'm very proud of.
Just like a spark that's breaking out, can't make a stop.